Three more sleeps, guys. We got a big one this week, folks. A really freaking big, nerve-wracking game. How you guys doing? Thanks for being here. Those of you that showed up to the second stream of the year. Matt Myers, Adam H, Anti-Ag, Asian Persuasion, some regulars, some of my favorite people in the world. Thank you guys for being here. Man, this game's really going to tell us what it's going to be this year, isn't it? We had our mulligan. Miami happened. We lost. And now it's on to a very winnable home game versus Auburn. And I predicted the score this week. I predicted 38 to 28. But as I think about it, I don't know if they're putting up 28 points. I think Asian Persuasion even commented that on the last video. 28's a lot for their offense to put up. I know our defense has been shaky. But you know what? We've had 3 games to hammer things in. They're discovering things. Shamar Turner's turning out to be an absolute beast. He's the true edge rusher this team needed. Jacoby Matthews, it sounds like he's going to start. I have a couple updates for you guys. Sounds like Jacoby's going to be starting for the foreseeable future because it looks like Jordan Gilbert was injured at some point or got hurt. Something happened. Jordan Gilbert was seen in the hospital bed on his Instagram story, so it looks like he's out. I don't know any more than that. That just came out a couple hours ago. So, yeah, Jacoby's the guy. But we're really excited about Jacoby. He's looked really good in his time playing. Sounds like he'll be starting for the foreseeable future. Him and Jared Kerr are going to be asked to take on much bigger roles going forward. So that's new. Jimbo was also asked about Ruben Fothery in the SEC teleconference, and he just said he's day-to-day. He's working his way back in. We didn't get much light shed on that situation. A situation that continues to kind of bother me. Okay, Asian Persuasion is saying Deuce could potentially start. Deuce Harmon? You thinking Deuce Harmon could start? I think so too. He looked pretty good besides that one perfect pass that got thrown over him. He kind of got beat. He was still in decent position versus ULM, but he did get beat on that play. But he looked solid the rest of the game. If that's who you're talking about. I don't know if you're talking about Deuce Harmon or Deuce Fothery, Asian Persuasion. But he said Deuce Fothery is still day-to-day working his way back in. I don't know what's up with Basantis. I haven't heard that. Other injuries, it sounds like everyone else should be back based on what Jimbo said. Evan Stewart, Bryce Foster, everyone but Jordan. And I haven't heard much about Bryce Foster. I don't know if he's going through some stuff because apparently from what Jimbo sounded like, he called himself out of the game. He didn't let himself play because he didn't feel right. So I'm not really sure what's happening there. But thank you guys for being here. We're going to have a good show. Just want to get on here and answer some questions that you guys have. If anybody wants to call in, the link is posted. You don't have to call in. It's an option for you guys. If you want to call in, go for it. If not, we'll just do this through chat. Go for maybe an hour or so. But I have a few questions for you guys. That's going to be the new theme of these shows. I have some questions for you guys. So the basic question I'm going to ask every show, what's your score prediction versus Auburn? The next game I'm always going to ask. I say 38 to 28, but I'm leaning more and more to 38 to 21. I don't know if they get that 4th touchdown. After watching them play, I know they discovered some stuff versus Samford with Peyton Thorne. Apparently they like to run him. They feel better when he's running. But I don't know, man. Put up 14 points versus Stanford in kind of an ugly slugfest of a game, a defensive game, an ugly game. And I think A&M's defense definitely has that next gear they can shift into. I really think so. How's it going, Chris Cobb? Master of Puppets. Yes, sir. Master of Puppets, Orion. Take your pick. I'm not wearing the Metallica shirt today, though. So what's the score prediction for you guys? I'm 38-28. I have to stick with it. That's what I'm rolling with. But I'm thinking 38-21, 38-24. And a lot of people are saying I'm underestimating Auburn's defense. We did get a couple updates about Auburn. A lot of their players have come back from injury. They are missing the starting corner that got hurt, I think, in their most recent game. He's still not practicing. He's out for several weeks. They lost the starting linebacker versus UMass. I don't think he's going to be coming back. But everyone else sounds like they're getting back into game shape. Could be seeing the field versus A&M. So a lot less banged up than we thought. I have Auburn fans telling me they have the best secondary in the country. I mean, it's possible. We're going to find out for sure. They're going to test our – we have some really good receivers. Obviously, Connor Wigman is proven to be one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC, if not the country. And, of course, I'm biased, but I think all of us Aggies are truly feeling like that could be the case after a big showing to start SEC play. That leads me to my next question for you guys. Once again, it's going to be another theme. I want you to predict Connor Wigman's passing yardage this week. Does he get to 300 again against this really good secondary? They haven't had a great pass rush thus far. Are they going to find the blitz? Are they going to dial it up and make Connor second guess things? I don't know. I think Connor could get close to 300 yards. Who's A&M's leading rusher going to be? That's a question I have for you guys. That's an interesting question because we've seen a lot of stuff with these running backs. All three of them have had their moments. I really liked what Le'Veon Moss showed last game in his brief stint. He didn't play that much, but I love what he shows, especially pass blocking. He's a great pass blocker. Le'Veon Moss is an aggressive, explosive kind of a player. Love to see it. I hope he plays a lot. Amari Daniels seems like the steady heartbeat kind of a guy. And then Reuben Owens is going to continue to get better and better every game. We saw his cutting ability on his touchdown run. We saw patience. He let the play develop, and he hit the hole, accelerated into the end zone for his first collegiate touchdown. Who leads the Ags in rushing versus Auburn? This could be the game where we have to run the ball because their secondary is pretty damn good. So it could be the game we need to see it. And I think we might. My last question, a little bit off topic. What's going on with Alabama? What's going to happen with Alabama? I'm really curious about this because Milroe mysteriously didn't play last game. I think a lot of us thought that Milroe was clearly the guy. He was clearly the one that they needed to live and die by because he brought that dynamic running ability, even though he's not a great passer. He has a hell of a strong arm, but trouble reading defenses, trouble making decisions passing, but just a great runner, a great athlete. What's going on with Bama? Are they at risk of losing 3 or 4 games this year? Are they going to lose this weekend at home to Ole Miss? I was thinking about that today. I was talking with my brother about that today. I think Bama wins versus Ole Miss with Milroe. I don't know if Ole Miss is that great yet. I guess we're going to find out a lot about both teams this weekend. It's a huge weekend for college football. But those are my 4 questions for you guys. Let's see what you guys have to say. We'll get back into the chat now. Chris Cobb, what's up? Carson Lee, how's it going? On a scale of New Mexico to Miami, how good can we expect the Auburn passing game to be? Can the Ags hold Auburn under 24? On a scale of New Mexico to Miami, that's a good way to put it. That's a tough way to put it. I don't think they're going to be anything close to Miami. Peyton Thorne is not Tyler Van Dyke by any means. Definitely more of an athlete. At least he showed that in one game. But he's not reading defenses. He's not passing players open. He's taking a lot of risks passing the ball from what I've seen. I don't think he's anything close to Miami, but I also don't think he's as bad as New Mexico. If 0 is New Mexico and Miami's 100, I think I'll put it right in the middle at 50. It'll be right in the middle at 50. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but I'm going to put it right there. And a lot of that's because it's relatively unknown. They're still learning their way with their starting quarterback at Peyton Thorne. They don't really know what he is yet. They want to get him running. That's their priority. At least it seemed like it versus Samford. We don't know how much of that is actually going to be in the game plan versus A&M. Chris Cobb, Astros are still in first place. I used to be a diehard Astros fan, and then I got really into Aggie football, and I kind of neglected my Astros fandom. I'm a huge San Antonio Spurs fan. I'm from San Antonio, so those two teams kind of take up all of my sports headspace, but I was a huge Astros fan, kind of falling off. Cold Price Guitar, how's it going? Texas 10K runner with a low-scoring affair, 17-14. Do you have A&M or Auburn? I'm assuming A&M. I'm assuming, but I don't know. You could pick Auburn, and I wouldn't really question you too much. I mean, we don't know what A&M is yet. Salvador Gonzalez, how's it going? 28-17. Is that A&M or Auburn? Chris Cobb, 45-21. Aggies win with ease. You know what? I don't know if you were here at the beginning, Chris Cobb, but I predicted 38-28, and I'm starting to lean 38-21 or 38-24. I don't know if Auburn can get that 4th touchdown. If A&M's defense progresses, if A&M's defense finds more pressure, if A&M's defense is just more locked in this game, they find better personnel, Jacoby Matthews makes a big difference, they really lean on Shamar Turner on 3rd down situations, I could see them scoring 3 or less touchdowns for sure. Texas 10K runner says, I think it'll be a low-scoring game. Yep. I've seen a couple of people with that prediction, and you know what? It's very possible, but I'm starting to believe in A&M's offense. We need to see it. Auburn's a good defensive test. It's a good defensive measuring stick. We saw Connor Wigman show out versus Miami, the only Power 5 opponent Texas A&M has had so far this year, but it was really just the Connor Wigman show, the Evan Stewart show. I don't think the O-line had a great game versus Miami. I think a lot of the stuff that A&M was able to do was Connor thinking on the fly, making quick reads at the pressure that's coming at him, and he's going to get better and better at that. He's going to get better at making calls at the line for the offensive line to block. I think the offensive line needs to really hone in on the blitz, but they've put, as I said in my last video, they've put it on film now. So hopefully they can handle it better. And I think A&M could potentially score more than 17, but you may be right. Based on history, their defense is good. It's a real test. Cole Price Guitar says, D will be crap till they start blitzing. They need to dial up some more exotic, sneaky blitzes for sure. Absolutely. They need to find it. That's got to be a point of emphasis. I've said on this show that I believe Jimbo is on Durkin right now, even though a lot of us are pissed off that he was defending Durkin in that presser last week. I think it's got to be a point of emphasis. I know they really honed in on stopping the run this year because it was such an issue last year. And in doing that, it's possible they neglected the blitz, the quarterback pressure game. I don't know for sure. It's very hard to explain why there's such a lack of pressure. 17-38 Aggie, says Ben. What's up? What's going on, Ben? Good to see you here. I like that score. Texas 10K runner. It's hard to say how many yards Connor will pass for. We played crappy teams. Very true. Very true. Tried to call, having some issues. IDK if you're getting it. I don't see you in there, Asian Persuasion. It should be open. You should just click the link to call in. Oh, I guess I'll give you instructions on how to call in. You click that link that I pinned. It'll take you into a waiting room. You have to enter a username. Try to enter the username that you're using in this chat. It'll just make things less confusing. And then just turn your mic on. You don't have to turn your camera on. And then I'll pull you into the chat whenever we have a second to jump onto a call. Ole Miss, unfortunately, chokes against Bama. Yeah, it does feel like Lane kind of shrinks against Nick Saban. I mean, he obviously respects the hell out of Nick Saban. I don't know what there is to that. It does seem like Bama's vulnerable this year, but yeah, I predict Bama wins this game. I believe their offense looks a lot better with Miller at the helm. If they run an offense that, is suited to his strengths. I know we want to win, but A&M really needs to blow them out of the water. Yeah, I know. That would feel really good, and it would be a welcome sight that would really put a lot of us at ease. All right, we have a caller. Jeb. How's it going, Jeb? You're on with Drew. What's going on, man? Yeah, thanks for calling. You've been around forever. It's good to finally hear your voice. I know. How long have I been talking it up? Since I think the end of last season. It took me a while to work this. Yeah, it's been tough, but, I got it going. It's a lot to juggle. It's a lot to manage, but I have a lot of fun with it, and it's good to give you guys a platform. So what do you think in Asia? Jeb, is that what I call you, Jeb? What are you thinking, Jeb? Okay, what's going on, Jeb? What are your thoughts right now versus this opponent? I mean, it's obviously huge. It's obviously something we want to see a statement kind of a game in. Are we going to get that? I mean, where are you at? Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, they really need to make a statement this game. I mean, they have the opportunity to do it. And you were saying that you were I remember you commenting that, and I've really been rethinking my 28 points given to them. Because if that's what we see, like you said, with this offense, we're definitely not feeling good. With their offense, we're definitely not feeling confident going into the next two games. Even though Bama's struggling offensively, it's still a lot of athleticism and it's a lot to deal with still. But I mean, yeah, man, who's your pick for leading rusher this game? I know we've had a lot of juggling at the running back. We got Moss back last game. Yeah. I know, right? Go figure. I know, man. I know. And you know what? I don't think the O-line has been dreadful this year. I know a lot of people are still complaining. Yeah, they're about average right now. It, yeah. Yeah, like last year. I mean, yeah, it's improved. You get continuity, you get players back. But yeah, man, with A Chain and just the ability they had to block so far this year, you really think that running game would look totally different right now. So you're going with Daniels. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what we want to see, right? We want to see Ruben show out that 5 star we got. We want to see it. But I mean, yeah, Daniels is the experienced guy. He's played the most this year. He played the most. I think he played the most last year. Moss played a little bit last year. Neither of them played that much. I mean, it was the A Chain show last year. But I mean, yeah, it would be nice to get that running game established because if you get that going with what Connor's been starting the year with, I mean, this offense could be super dynamic. So yeah, yeah, absolutely. I know, right, man? Hey, I hope it's. I love a morning game if we win. I mean, obviously that's always the case. It ruins the day. Yeah, the Arkansas morning. You know what? I guess this is a hot take. I freaking love it. I'm weird. Yep, I'm weird in a couple ways with that game. First of all, I like to go to it every year. So having it in the morning, I mean, I like to go to Six Flags. It's a thing I like to do. It's like a tradition for me. So I park at Six Flags because I have a parking pass, so I park for free. And then I walk over to Six Flags after. It's pretty sick. It's awesome. So I like that I have time to do that. Get back home for the evening games at night. So that'll be nice. Or back to the hotel. Yeah, yeah. Oof, I know, man. I know. We got that game needs to be at night. I always say like your prime time, like premier, ABC or CBS games should be at night. Yeah, yeah. That makes that I would prefer that. Now, is Bama gonna have only one loss by the time they come into College Station? And is that a good thing? I mean, do we want them to have multiple losses? Do we want them to be kind of down? Yeah, right. Yeah, I know what you mean, man. We kind of want to bury him, right? I mean, we want to be. Yeah, yeah. And it was like he did some damage running, but as good as he was running, he was just as bad passing the ball. I mean, he made dude. Yeah, I mean, so many players had career games. Fadil Diggs, Jordan Gilbert, those two guys showed out that game, and I mean, they made our secondary look like gods that game. And the secondary was really freaking good last year, but Jalen Miller helped quite a bit with that. And they're going to be improved, I think, from that look. I don't know, man. It's hard to get a gauge on them, which is surprising because a lot of people said that was going to be their strength this year. On paper, it should have been, but man, I don't know. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. But of course, we got two winnable ones before that. I mean, we're feeling real bad if we're losing either of those. I haven't had the chance to watch it. I haven't done my research on Arkansas just yet, but just from afar, I mean, it feels like we should win it. It's probably going to be wacky. It's probably going to be crazy again. I mean, that game is always stupid. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Yeah, it's crazy. But we typically seem to squeeze it out there. They got us a couple years ago, but as ugly as it gets, we usually come out on top there. But yeah, man. While I have you, I'm gonna get to another call in a second. But while I have you, what was your score prediction? I know you put it in the chat. But what was your score prediction? Now that I have you on the call for this weekend. Yeah, I can see it happening, man. Like I said, I'm backtracking on me giving them 4 touchdowns. So what was it? You said 35-13. What was it? 34. Two field goals. No, no, no. That makes sense. Two field goals. That's very viable. I mean, that happened last weekend. Couldn't capitalize in the red zone. Oh yeah, man. Yeah. But hey, Jake's coming around. I'm really liking what I'm seeing there. It's progressing. It was always going to be a work in progress. Absolutely, man. Hope to hear from you again. Sounds good, Jeb. You have a good one, man. Thanks for calling in. Later. Let's catch up on the chat and then we'll get into the next caller. Thanks for calling in, man. I've been hearing from you for months, and I'm just glad to finally hear you call in. Cole Price says he knows the score is 23-20, but he doesn't know who wins. Who could it be? It's going to be that score, though. Chris Cobb, Ole Miss takes care of business over Bama. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. 210 represent. That's right, Space Jesus. Go Spurs, go. Manu's still my favorite. Yes, sir. 24-17 Ag, says Connor. I love it. Lash, what's going on, man? Since A&M joined the SEC, the road team is usually one between A&M and Auburn. You know, I'm hoping we break some trends there. It didn't happen last year. Pierre says, you think we win 10 this season? Also, what would be your percent of that happening? I originally said we win 10, but, you know, after seeing Miami, I'm more at 9 now. So at 10, I would say it's more of like a 30%. I feel like there's a couple more losses coming, but that's okay. I think we'll feel okay with 9. Brian Giles says, I kind of hate that we still don't know what the defense is. True. I'm confident in the offense giving us a chance. If the offense stumbles, I don't have faith in the D. That's right. Feel terrible typing that. Yeah, the offense has been keeping us in the one game. The offense kept us in the Miami game, obviously giving up 48 points. You're not going to win a lot of games when you do that. Carson Lee says, I'll go 34-21. Ags, love it. All right, let's get to the next caller. Cooper, you're on with Drew. What's on your mind? Yes, sir. I got you loud and clear. Thank you. I'm behind on chat, so I couldn't see that. Well, now they should be able to hear you.
All right, sweet.
Clearly an oversight. Sorry about that, guys. Jeb was great, in case you didn't catch it.
Yeah, I heard him backstage. It was great.
Okay, nice.
Uh, First of all, sorry if I sound a little weird. I'm sick right now, but
No, you sound great. No worries.
okay. Just two things about the defense that I wanted to, like, not really, like, dunk on them or praise them. It's just
Sure.
kind of observations. Ever since Mike Elko, he dialed up a lot of blitzes against everyone,
Right.
and I'm just not seeing a lot of that from Durkin. So that I think that is contributing to the regression in the rush defense. Um, and it's kind of like that's part of DJ's philosophy. Just kind of hang back, let the secondary do their thing. That's
Right.
just my observation there.
Yeah, absolutely. It does seem like it's not an aggressive defensive style. I mean, we've talked
Right.
about how they're pulling an edge guy out into zone coverage. And Jimbo was actually asked about that this week. And basically, he said he wants to spread the defense out. He wants to cover more ground with those big guys. And a lot of people aren't happy about that. It kind of leans more into that non-aggressive style. I mean, they need to get some kind of pass rush going, whether it's getting sneakier with the blitzes, disguising them better, finding something. And besides Shamar Turner, which he's had a great year, we don't have a lot of guys that are just going one-on-one and getting pressure on the quarterback. But I'm pretty happy with their ability to have gap discipline so far this year. That's been better, but the
Hmm.
pressure has just been abysmal. But what was your next point?
I think even though the the uh, the scheme is a little bit more passive, like
Mm-hmm.
relying on the secondary, I think that's made up for in just the sheer talent along the defensive line. Like you go down the list, Shamar Stewart, uh, uh, what's his name,
The other
Shamar
Shamar.
Turner.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you just go down the list, and you just have 5-star after 5-star, just down the list, elite defensive linemen.
Yeah.
Um, and like that's one of those things. Do we need more of those guys? Can that? Do we need more of those guys along the defensive line to improve the rush defense, or Do we need it somewhere else, like maybe at linebacker? Because linebacker has also been an area of need for the Aggies really since Buddy Johnson left.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I've been happy with Torin York so far this year. I know he's a true freshman.
Oh,
He
absolutely.
wasn't highly rated or anything like that, but he's been a real disciplined player. He's been really, really strong with his gap assignment, which has been an issue since Buddy Johnson, like you were saying. And Edge Cooper has been Edge Cooper. I'm okay with the starting too, but they're
Mhm.
definitely not like big play kind of guys. They're definitely not world beaters. But the D line, like you said, is, and it's kind of surprising not to see them live in the backfield more.
Yeah. And my last thing before I go was about Bama versus Ole Miss.
Yep.
Um, I think Bama wins outright. It's just because I don't trust Lane Kiffin. I think he's one of the most overrated head coaches in the country.
Yeah, it seems like he's all talk and no bite. I mean, what's been his biggest win at Ole Miss? I mean,
I I think from from what I've seen, it's either his win either last week or 2 weeks ago against Tulane.
right,
Either that or his win versus Indiana in the Outback Bowl a couple years ago.
right. Those are the two best wins, and he beat A&M last year, but it was a terrible A&M team. So, I
Yeah.
mean, he hasn't really done anything, and he has the chance this weekend. But like you said, he's he's playing Daddy Saban. I mean, he loves Saban. You know, he's
Yep.
always talking Saban up. It seems like there's a little bit of a mental factor going on in that matchup, and I tend to agree with you. I think Alabama gets it done. But while I have you, Coop, before I get rid of you, what's the A&M Auburn score prediction for this weekend?
I was kind of like you. I was originally thinking it would be like 38-28 around that range, but I think right now I'm going to go with 31-20 in favor of A&M. I don't trust uh, Auburn's defense
Yeah,
to hold up.
yeah. I think we definitely get at or past 30, and I'm leaning towards them. I'm kind of where you're at right now. I'm leaning towards them getting around 20, so that makes a lot of sense. And then who's our leading rusher this game? Because we have three obviously right now.
Ooh, you know, I'm leaning Amari Daniels just because of his experience.
Yeah,
I think Ruben Owens is going to be a stud in the future. Same
right,
with Le'Veon,
right.
but I'm just going with experience right now, and I'm going to say Amari Daniels.
Yeah, and he'll probably get the most share of the reps as he has so far in the year, and it makes a
Yeah,
lot of sense for him to be the guy. He looks pretty good out there. But all right, Cooper, I appreciate you calling in, man, and I hope to hear from you again soon.
yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. Yeah, really sorry about missing out on that first caller. Jeb was great. He'll probably call in again in the future. Still working through the kinks here and getting things going. But let's catch up on the chat here. Lash says, based on pure talent, Texas A&M should romp and stomp on Saturday. But if it's a low-scoring affair, we could be in trouble. Absolutely. I mean, their defense obviously is much stronger relative to their offense. I mean, that's the strength of their team. It's their defense. They have a couple good D linemen. They're banged up at linebacker, but they have this guy Asante who's apparently stepped up in a big way since that starter went down in the first game of the year. But man, yeah, if it's a low-scoring affair, that's when you really feel like it starts heading Auburn's way. Because, like I've been saying over and over again, I'm really thinking they're going to score around 20 points. So if A&M can't get past that, it could be trouble. Chris Cobb says Bobby Petrino is 3-1 versus Auburn, so definitely take the points and blow out for our Aggies. I love it, Chris Cobb. I hope you're right, and if you are right, we're going to feel really good moving forward. Another winnable game next week versus Arkansas. Error says we need Bama to be great after we beat them, though. Yeah, that's what I said last week. It's like they've been struggling, but with our luck, they're going to get it together by the time we play them in College Station. But man, that game's at home. It was a close game last year. Every player's back. Kyle Field's going to be sold out regardless of whatever Alabama is. I know everyone's already bought their tickets. That's going to be a crazy good game. I mean, we really hope we're undefeated in these next couple games going into that one. Texas Platinum, how's it going, T-Plat? Arkansas sucks. Not back. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game this weekend versus LSU. They're on the road at LSU. That'll be fun. Chris Kopp says, no worries on Arkansas. They suck. Offense and defensive lines are bad. Yes. Andrew Peter says, Drew's going to be a Texas contributor before you know it. We'll see. I do like me some Texas. I can't hate on Texas. I like Texas. Arkansas is terrible. Jay, how's it going, Jay? Petrino letting out that playbook slowly. Asian Persuasion, you were not muted. That was on me. When I transition from the pre-show, like the stream starting soon, I slowly mute the music so it's not just like an abrupt stop. And I forgot to turn that audio back on, and that's the same audio that comes through, that StreamYard comes through in, where you click to call. And yeah, I dropped the ball on that. My bad, guys. We'll get it together. Jay says we can hear now. Good. Said Drew's brother should get him out to a TU game this season, and Drew should get you out to an A&M. 0 cents given the talent on our D line and lack thereof in the secondary. Yeah, there should be pressure for sure, and there should be a lot more aggression knowing all that. Knowing you lost Antonio Johnson, knowing you lost Jalen Jones, knowing you're going to have to work some young guys into bigger roles this year, even though we had a lot of faith in the Bryce Andersons, the Jacoby Matthews, the Jordan Gilberts, we knew Damani, Tyreek Chappelle. You're losing 2 NFL-level players, and you would think that you would need to get a better pass rush to back those guys up. They literally have Albert Regis on the edge. I noticed that, and I don't know if they're just trying to get different looks, but having those big bodies on the edge, it's interesting, man. And they put like Shamar Turner or Fadil Diggs like at the nose on those pass rush plays. It's a really interesting thing. And I know when you have super high-level players, those quicker guys can dance around the center. I don't know if you guys saw Myles Garrett doing like a crossover hezzy to beat the center in like week 1's games. That's super high level, though, and I don't know if we have that. But yeah, you would think that they would put those edge guys at the edge. Why run the 3-man front? Logan, I know we hate the 3-man front. I guess I get the philosophy of just giving a different look at the offensive line and the quarterback to try to confuse them. And I'm okay with it if you can get a pass rush. But if you're not getting a pass rush with the 3-man front, you feel really bad about it. And you're wondering why you're not putting your super high-level 5-star D lineman. You're not stacking up that line with those guys and just going, balls to the wall and getting in there. Yeah, Albert Regis at the edge is kind of crazy. Lash says, you run a 3-man front when you have more depth at linebacker than you have on the defensive line. The Aggies have much more depth on that defensive line. Well, here's the thing, Lash, that they're doing. They're not even adding a linebacker to the mix when you go 3-man front. They're kind of pulling the edge guy out into like a hybrid linebacker kind of a position where he's like next to the line of scrimmage in like a zone. It's a little weird. They still go to linebacker. So they're not even really going heavy linebacker in that formation, which is really strange. It's Jimbo's like telling us it's cutting edge. It's the new way of the new way of football. So I don't know. I'm okay with it if it works, but if it doesn't work, you're going to draw a lot of questions like, why aren't you just going all out on that defensive line? Amari just has more bursts than the others. I think he does. I think he definitely has the most burst, but I saw a lot of bursts from Le'Veon Moss, and I don't know if that's because he was fresh or because he missed a game or whatever happened, but Le'Veon looked really solid to me in the couple of possessions he had. Belioso says, Ruben Owens, that kid is crazy talented. Totally agreed, man. If he starts becoming the leading rusher on this team, I think that's a really good sign because we know what we have in Amari and Moss, I think, for the most part, but Ruben definitely has the most room to kind of rise to the top. And if he starts showing out, that really helps this offense. Adam says, no worries, technical difficulties and growing pains. Absolutely. It won't happen again. Sorry, my bad. But thanks for those kind words. Philip Mixon says, what's wrong with Chappelle and Noah Thomas? I think Chappelle was just banged up from a brutal game versus Miami. I think they were really cautious versus ULM. He should be back based on what Jimbo was saying. I meant to say earlier that I am a little bit worried with Noah Thomas. I mentioned this before, but I'll say it again. We saw him in a picture at an NIL event before the season started, about 2 weeks before, in a walking boot. And then versus New Mexico was the first game. Versus New Mexico, he was kind of limping around out there. He still played through it, but he played a lot that game, played a lot versus Miami. I'm really glad he ended up sitting out of ULM. I'm a little bit more worried about him than the rest because it seems to be more of a lingering thing. Asian Persuasion said he thought Arkansas would have a pretty bad defense this year. Yeah, they lost a lot. Bumper Pool and Sanders, those guys were mainstays there. Arkansas at LSU. Can you say pig roast? Yeah, that's how I feel like it's going to happen. But if they surprise us, that's going to be a little scary going into the next week. I mean, their backs are all the way against the wall. Ole Miss going to beat Bama? I feel it. LOL, poor Bama. No, there's no poor Bamas here. Oh, you did the laughing emoji. Yeah, Bama's had their time. Bama's had their time. I mean, they can deal with one bad year. And is Saban gone after one bad year? Is he going to retire if it's like a downfall, he doesn't want to build it back up? Or is that pride going to kick in? He wants to build it back up, his last big accomplishment. I wonder about that. Jalen Jones was very underappreciated, absolutely. We got to see Grimes at some point. With Jalen Jones, he never had the best stats. He never had a bunch of picks. But the best thing about him is he was not targeted often, and that's a sign of a great corner. Jay Paul says, we cannot start Gilbert and Damani at the same time. Look, here's my thing with Gilbert. He's had a really rough start to the year, but last year I thought he was going to take a big leap going into this year. But the thing is, we saw a picture of Gilbert in a hospital bed today, so I'm not sure what's going to happen there. That could be some bad news. He might be out. We haven't gotten an update on Gilbert yet, though. But yeah, I think Jacoby Matthews needs to play a lot more. Agent Persuasion says the only time you run a 3-man front is when it's 3rd and 30. Yeah, that's how it seems, right? You would think, but they're not doing that. It's really weird. I'm sorry, 280-pound DNs should not be covering anyone in space. And yeah, and what Jimbo said to oppose that was, well, he's not covering him. He's just kind of occupying a space there, and he's just adding another look. I don't know, man. You have him pretty far off the line of scrimmage. It's pretty weird looking. Logan says you're not wrong. Andrew Peters says, I don't know about y'all, but I can't remember the last time when A&M had a solid quarterback. The sky's the limit this year. That's the thing, man. As long as you have a quarterback that is as good as Connor Wigman appears to be, you're going to have a chance with a lot of matchups. He's in a like we saw in the Miami game. I don't think the offensive line played great versus Miami. I think the blitz really confused him, really confused Connor, and Connor was still able to just out-talent that thing and still put up a pretty good game. And a lot of Longhorns are laughing at his 2 interceptions that game in the loss. I think we know what really happened with those interceptions. One was the Anaya slip. The other one was like a last attempt at a touchdown. I think it was like on a 4th down. He threw a pick. He had to throw it in there. He had to try something. Agent Persuasion says, I would start Harmon and Chappelle at corner, Damani and Anderson at safety, and DeBerry at nickel at his natural position. Yeah, I actually would love that. Yep, and then you can sub in Kerr and Jacoby. I really like Jacoby. No kidding, Andrew. It's what gets me up in the morning. Yep. Johnny Manziel. Yeah, that's the last time the quarterback was at this kind of hype and this kind of excitement level. Lash says, roll tide around the bowl and down the hole. Yep, it's time. It's time for it to happen, guys. We've seen it. We've seen so much success from Alabama. I don't know how their fan base is going to deal with not being a great team. I mean, is the expectation still that they're going to fight back for a playoff spot or to win the West? Doesn't feel like that's on the table right now, just based on looking at them. And I know the West is super shaky. Anything can happen. But, man, that game versus South Florida it looked real bad. But they didn't have their quarterback. I don't know if they could have. I don't know what happened with Milroe there. Was he hurt? Was he suspended? I've heard rumblings that he was suspended. He seems like the guy they need. Adam says the talent is there, but where's the development of the talent and the execution? Ags have got to bring it. We have enough solid dudes to rotate and keep them on their heels. Absolutely. I mean, you would think this defense, based on talent alone, should be really freaking good. Better than what it's shown so far this year. But you know what? We've already had, I think we're averaging, is it 2 sacks a game? Something like that? I mean, that's a better trend than last year, but it's not much of an improvement. We would hope for a lot more with the talent on this D-line for sure. Asian Persuasion says, you know teams are going to blitz us every game. I'd be practicing that in practice every single week. I know, and I'm sure they are now. I mean, I'm sure they already were, but I'm sure it's even more emphasized and more salient now that they struggled against it with Miami. And it seems like that's what Auburn's going to try to do. That's what their D coordinator has always done. It's going to be corner blitzes. It's going to be safety blitzes. They're going to be sneaky with it. They're going to be creeping up on the line. So watch out for that. Their fan base is taking it so hard, says Bailio. So I know, man. I know. As a Spurs fan, I grew up in the Tim Duncan era. And when we started sucking a few years ago, that was pretty brutal. And with college football, I feel like the connection to the team's a little bit deeper than in NBA or pro sports. So I imagine they're having trouble coping with the situations right now. Of course, they still have hope. Everyone does. It's still early, but damn. Peter's telling Antiag, we've had like a million quarterbacks since Manziel. Kenny Hill, Kyler Murray, Trevor Knight, Jake Kubanek, Nick Starkel, Kellen Mond, Haynes King, Zach Calzada, Max Johnson. I don't know if any of those got me that excited when they were here. You know, Kellen Mond had a great 2020. But I mean, my excitement level and my confidence in Connor is higher than all those. OC Airsoft is in the building. What's up? What's up, OC Airsoft? Thanks for chiming in, buddy. Good to see you. Jay Paul says in the UM game, players were slipping everywhere. Well, just our guys. It's not like Miami had secret cleats. What really happened is we don't practice at full speed, so we weren't prepared for speed. I don't know, man. That was really bizarre to see our team slipping all over the place and them not slipping. It seemed like so many times in coverage, a cut would just beat our player. I mean, and tackling was difficult. Legs were slipping out from behind tackles. I didn't really lean on it too much as an excuse, but I think it was definitely a factor. I think it led to a lot of the bad play in the secondary. They still had a bad game, but that added to it for sure. Lash says, beware the stunts and twists. Absolutely. And the O-line has struggled with that historically over the last couple of years since Adazio got in. I don't know if there's a correlation there or just that it's a relatively young and inexperienced O-line, or it was. It's not anymore. But that always seems like it's been an issue. Asian Persuasion says, I thought Trevor Knight was a pretty solid quarterback. Once he got hurt, the season went down the drain. Man, that was a hell of a year. That was a hell of a crazy year. I mean, the first 6 games, I think we were undefeated. 6-0, 7-0. We were in the inaugural playoff top 4. The first year of the playoff, I think it was the first year of the playoff. Is that right? We were ranked 4 going into that game versus Bama, and we kind of just blew it that game. Trevor Knight got hurt. That season went down the drain. But that season was crazy. I mean, beating UCLA, 50,000. Y'all remember that? And then the crazy game versus Tennessee in that glory year with Alvin Kamara, Josh Dobbs. That was so fun for half a year. Andrew Peter says, in my opinion, Zach Calzada was decent. He just didn't get enough help from the coaching staff. That dude literally just got thrown into the fire. Absolutely. And when he went in versus Colorado, you could tell he wasn't ready. But we saw what kind of talent he had versus Bama when he was able to lock in and they had a good game plan. I think you might be onto something there. His arm talent was undeniable. But yeah, man, when he went in versus Colorado, I was at that game. He looked flustered. He just looked unprepared. And yeah, that's got to be on coaching, right? I mean, he might have a different kind of a personality type. I think he was more of a soft-spoken guy. But you got to work around that as a coaching staff. Space Jesus says, Bama still has like 90% blue chip ratio. Yep. Talent wins out, and everybody predicting their fall should pump the brakes. They might not win pretty, but they'll still win a lot. Very much on the table. It's weird because I've been saying they have the talent. We just don't know the names yet because a lot of these players haven't emerged yet. They're having a lot of problems getting big playmakers. Their offensive line, which is probably the most talented by the blue chip ratio in the country, is struggling this year. So, I mean, you're right. Talent wins out, but I don't know what's going on there because they haven't had these superstars emerge like they typically do with that kind of a talent, that kind of blue chip ratio. But you're absolutely right. It should win out. Asian Persuasion says, the O-line killed Calzada's confidence. It's a shame dude had a rocket arm. Yeah, man, he definitely lacked confidence, and that's a very good point. He was under constant pressure, not the most mobile quarterback, although he was pretty athletic. He had a huge, 70-yard run last weekend. He made, some kind of highlight reel. It's really cool to see for Zach. He's playing at here in San Antonio at Incarnate Word. Andrew Peter says, I liked Knight too. Dude got hit so much. I remember this one sack from an Alabama player where he literally Superman jumped him onto the line of scrimmage. Yeah. Lash says, I know how you felt when the Spurs went downhill. I'm a Bulls fan. It took me years to recover when their dynasty broke up after 6 titles in 8 years. Exactly. And I think that, like I said, with Bama, the fact that they're students and everything, I mean, alumni, donors, it's got to feel real rough. Asian Persuasion said, yeah, we went 6-0 in 15. We lost to State, Ole Miss, and LSU, who were not good that season. I know, man. We struggled against UTSA, too. The new Ags don't know the Sutherland November years. Yeah, that was rough. 16, yeah. Portal has leveled the playing field. Experience can sometimes overcome young talent. Yeah. Kadarius Baker. The second is 13 to 15 years old. I'm sure he'll be a huge opportunity for A&M if Houston Christian doesn't pick him up. Yeah, they could pick up Kadarius Baker. Kadarius out there. SEC is wide open this year. I'd even say the same for the rest of college football. Blue Buds are struggling against cupcakes. I know, man. It does seem like the playing field has been leveled. I mean, if you're not getting playing time at these big programs, you're transferring to lesser programs, and that's kind of leveling things out. I mean, yeah, man, there's going to be some struggles versus some inferior opponents. And it was crazy. I mean, Ole Miss struggled with Tulane. Arkansas lost to BYU. We lost to freaking App State last year. There's a lot of stuff happening with these smaller programs these days. Agent Persuasion says, I remember that, or when they nailed Speedy Noyle on the kickoff and it was clearly targeting. We started a true freshman at left guard. Crazy times, man. Well, all right, guys. I don't have much time tonight. I'm going to have to end the stream a little bit early, but I appreciate you guys being here. If you haven't liked or subscribed, if you could do that, I would really appreciate it. I appreciate those of you that called in, guys. And before I go, I'm going to ask one more time my questions of the day. Who's going to be A&M's leading rusher this game if you haven't answered? What's your score prediction this weekend? And is Connor going to throw for over 300 yards again? You answer those questions, we're going to get out of here, and I'm going to see you guys again post-game. I have a wedding to go to this weekend, guys. A fall wedding. It happened, and I'm going to it. However, since the game's starting at 11, I get to watch the entire game because the wedding's not till 6. So I'm going to watch the game, and I'm going to give you guys my post-game reaction, so we're good. It's going to be a little bit of a weird setting. I might be wearing a suit. But yeah, that's interesting. Phil Mixon says, I don't think Mond and company looked that great in 2020 Orange Bowl, but we won. Yeah, that was the A-Chain show, man. A-Chain and Anais, those two guys showed out to in that game. And Spiller got hurt early that game, and A-Chain still showed out. Notre Dame, Ohio State pick. I feel the Buckeyes aren't getting no love. They've looked good, but I really like Notre Dame. I really like Audric Estime. I love their quarterback. I got Notre Dame winning this game. I got Notre Dame beating Ohio State at home this weekend. It's going to be a big game. I wish I could watch that one. I will be missing that. App State took NC to overtime. Yep. Last year, too, I think. Asian Persuasion says, not the fall weddings. I know, man. Hey, it's a cousin. I'm going to go. I'm going to accept it. You know, they're not football people, so I understand. But I can watch the Ags, so we're good. Bailioso says 38-28 Ags. That's what I predicted, too, Bailioso. But I'm kind of reverting it down. I'm kind of thinking Auburn's going to score closer to 20 than 28. That's what I'm kind of leaning towards, but my official prediction is 38-28, so I'm going to have to stick with it. But internally, I'm shifting. Owens will get the least touches, but lead rushing with a massive breakoff run. We really need to see that, says Logan. We really need to see some of those breakout runs, some gash run plays. That's what we really need to get that going. As good and as fun as this offense has been, it's really been, you know, obviously a pass-heavy offense. If the running game gets going, you can get some explosives on the ground. This offense is going to be really dynamic. And that means the O-line's taking strides too. Better do the Aggie war hymn, bro. I don't think it's going to happen. It's in South Carolina, man. I don't know. I think there are going to be some Gamecocks there, some Clemson fans. It's going to be a mixed bag for sure. I'll be the only Aggie there. Owens, 115 yards. A&M, 38. You said Miami 10, but I know you meant Auburn. 325 yards for Connor Wegman. That would be a hell of a day. I'd have an extra beer at that wedding if that were the case. With those numbers right there, you'd be seeing a happy Drew post-game. Cooper says weddings during the college football season should not be allowed. Wouldn't be me, man. Hey, we can all here agree, unless you've already done it, no fall weddings. For any of you guys. Yeah, Phil means Auburn. Yeah, I got that. Yeah, Bailioso, I had the same prediction. Exactly. I want to see more touchdowns in the red zone. Absolutely. Lash says Amari Daniels leading rusher, Aggies 30-20. That's kind of what I'm thinking too. I never gave my leading rusher. I'm going to go along the lines of what Philip Mixon was saying. Or who said it? Logan said Owens will get the least touches, but he'll lead in rushing with massive runs. I'm gonna kind of go along those lines. I say Owens leads the team in rushing this game. I don't know if he gets to 100, but I could see him having like a 70-yard game. I think they're going to have to run this game. They're going to have to run with how good their secondary is, at least to soften that thing up. More touchdowns in the red zone is a must. Just request We Bleed Maroon by Granger Smith. That's my sneaky war hymn. Okay. 34-13 final score from Asian Persuasion. All right, guys. I appreciate you guys for being here. Like I said, I'll see you Saturday. We'll do another live show next week. We'll work out the kinks. Now I know to turn the volume back up when people are on so y'all can hear Jeb's nice voice and what he had to say. I apologize once again. But we're going to get it going. Yeah, the margs are expensive, man. If you want a good marg, it's expensive. If you want a cheap marg, Chacho's, Taco Cabana, Las Palapas, but you're going to have a headache afterwards. 40-10, Andrew Peter says. All right, guys, I'm going to end it. I will see you guys really soon. Thanks for watching.